Hello everybody, welcome back. Big news today is this is going to be the last Jaguar video that we're going to do for a little while. Um, Unfortunately, the we're seeing some more issues with the ECU that I'm trying to just solve, and nobody wants to sit around and watch somebody troubleshoot the same problem over and over and over again. So this will be the last Jaguar video for a little while, and so we're so far delayed. I've talked about we're way off schedule before. We're so far delayed that we're impacting other efforts that I want to do with cars and other projects going on that I want to start working on and get moving forward. So we're going to pause on the Jaguar for a little while in terms of videos, and it doesn't mean I'm going to stop working on it. It just means I'm going to try to troubleshoot off camera, figure out what's going on, get it up and running. And once we have the vehicle up and running, hopefully in the next 2 to 6 months, we'll post another video on the Jaguar update, and we'll close the loop with what had to get done to get it up and running. But in the meantime, here's the last video you'll see for a little while on terms of how we modified the third iteration of the trigger wheel, a much better implementation of what we did. So if you remember, we originally were trying to do a one tooth in the front and use the flywheel sensor in the back. The ECU didn't like that. The second sensor we had wasn't getting a good enough trigger wheel signal to do anything with. This third sensor here, we're finally getting a good trigger wheel signal, but the timing's being weird. So just trying to get through this. I know here we are again 5 months into the year, and we haven't really made much progress in terms of getting this car running with the new MS3 ECU. So again, last video for a little while, get it up and running. Hopefully by then, it'll be a couple months for sure. And in the meantime, we'll have some other different content on the video on the channel. Hopefully, hopefully I can grow the channel a little bit more. It's something I wanted to do this year in 2024. I feel like I'm at a standstill with this Jaguar project, so we got to move on and keep pressing on with our lives. And so I guess I'll just show you the new trigger wheel setup. Like I said, I think it's a whole lot better than the last trigger wheel setup. Still don't like it because it's in the front. Whatever, we'll deal with that down the road. But in the meantime, here's the new setup. All right, so here is version 3.0 of the new trigger wheel setup. So this is the Holley trigger wheel that we talked about earlier. This is the sensor that we talked about earlier. And then, so we'll go over some of the additional bits and pieces that we had to build. So this here, this is a washer that just tack welded onto a bushing. And the bushing is designed to fit around the centering bolt. So there you go. And it also fits in this hole here. So you have a nice centerpiece there. So that fits like this. And then your centering bolt fits in there like that. So your trigger wheel stays centered on here. Now this is all going to get torqued down and everything. We'll show mounting on the vehicle later. But you get the point. This is a mount. This piece here fits on the two bolts of the water pump, which I replaced with studs. And then this piece here mounts down here, these holes here, right? So I did some test fitting and found out that these two holes here are the best. And there is some back and forth adjustability in here, so you can go this way and like this in case it's not quite square with the sensor. And then the sensor mounts in here, and so you now have adjustability both this way with this system. The slight slotting in there gives you adjustability this way, and then the way that this system mounts on the water pump area and everything else, you can put spacers in here. So you have 3 ways of adjustability, which is one thing I struggled with the last time, because I was trying not to have anything that was adjustable, and it was a lot of bending and a lot of taking off and putting back on and taking off and putting back on, so on and so forth. And I'm done with that. So this one here has 3 ways of adjustability. We can get that set up right. The other thing that we had to do, so we have the mount for the water pump, the bushing for the actual wheel. The other thing we did was, let's put all this stuff aside, this is the original pulley wheel bracket that goes on between the inner and outer pulley wheels. It just bolts on, and then you have this area here where you can spin the crank with still. So what I did with this one here is I just simply recreated this, right? So this is just a piece of hardware from the store, mounted it and centered it as best I could. And then it matches this here. So instead of using this to hold the pieces together, you'll put your spacers in. Then you would normally have this. So then you use this, and then your bolts, so on and so forth. You get the idea. But that goes on to the pulley on the crankshaft. Then you would take this, put this on here, and this goes into there. So you would have a pretty much centered as best as I can with shop tools here at the house, and you just bolt that in and you're done. There's a little teeny tiny bit of movement in here, so there's going to be some minor adjusting that's going to need to be done before it's final torqued, but it's pretty close. All right, guys, so here is the mounting bracket kind of halfway together, and so again it just kind of sits on the water pump right here, and these were replaced with studs, so it just basically sits on here like this. Nothing fancy. There are 2 washers that go on first. Almost forgot about those. Ooh, I knocked the camera. Sorry, apologies, guys. But yeah, so there's 2 washers that go on to give it a little bit of clearance so it doesn't hit the housing. Again, there's a slight bend right here. So that bend pushes it backwards a little bit, so it's more centered on this section there. Again, we still have adjustability here as needed. Anyways, we're pressing on. We don't hit any of the belts or anything. We're clearing everything. I don't see any issues with us hitting any of the front section here. This connector right here for the water pump actually comes out further than the entire system for the sensor. So that's good news. We shouldn't hit anything. So we just basically gonna put those on, torque them down. For right now, we're not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to give them a little bit of a torque. We're just test fitting right now, and if the system works as expected, as we hope it does, we will come back and adjust everything and make sure everything fits. But right now, I just want to make sure the system fits and the trigger wheels go in. So I'll move this camera over there a little tiny bit. So now this system here, basically the mounting section, mounting center, whatever you want to call it, this thing basically mounts right into here. So sometimes when I'm trying to put this stuff together, I like to tell you guys a joke, but I do have a really good one about pizza. Unfortunately, I can't tell it right now because it's too cheesy. Alright, so that's, for right now, just going to hand tighten it. Now for the crank wheel. Everything's flying around. Of course, put this on the wrong setting. Oi. Do. Exciting times here, guys. Alright guys, we're back. I didn't have it the wrong setting. I had it backwards, so the sensor piece goes on the other side. Again, with the way that this is set up, you're never going to be able to change out your belts without this being, without at least at minimum the sensor being removed. You probably have to remove the whole bracket. So eventually we're going to have version 4.0, which puts the sensor wheel on the opposite side of the crank pulley where it would traditionally be from the factory for this vehicle, and then you won't have this belt issue, you won't have anything in the front end. I do think this is going to interfere with the fan. Right, so the fan mounts right here. There's not a whole lot of clearance from the factory, but we'll worry about that later. Or maybe we should worry about it now, but I just want to get a sensor working so I can figure out if that's the problem or not, if, right, all the things. All right, so that's basically how it's going to get installed. The wire, that's just going to come down, back up the back side of here where it would normally come up, and then just connect into the rest of the harness here on the top of the engine. You can't really see where I'm pointing to, but yeah, you get the point. This is how it's going to get installed. So you can see it's kind of relatively easy. I do need to put a little bit of spacers in here. I'll bring this out just a tad bit. You get the point. It's relatively easy to install, not too bad. This looks like it's going to be centered pretty well. And we're now going to have to finish up wiring here, and we'll check out the actual trigger signal on the computer here shortly. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed the last Jaguar video. Yeah, we're just going to keep pressing on with some other projects, and hopefully good things to come. Bye.